The third leg of the wealth tripod is tax write-offs or being tax advantaged. Now, this is really powerful. I saw this website, taxfoundation.org, and I was looking on there, and they have a stat on there that was kind of depressing, actually. And basically, they did a calculation, and they do this, I think, every year, where they declare a tax freedom day. And a tax freedom day is this. It's the day where you've worked all year, and this is the day where you've paid off all your taxes and everything else essentially is tax-free. And it's kind of depressing because Tax Freedom Day, according to taxfoundation.org in 2018, was April 19th, which means that you worked from January 1st to April 19th in order just to pay the government taxes. April 19th. That means from January to mid to late April, you're working straight for the government. And that's kind of depressing and sad. And I'm really sorry that I just did that to you. However, the third leg of the wealth tripod is this being tax advantaged and having tax write-offs. And again, you need to seek out a CPA, a qualified CPA or an accountant who can help you sort through all the taxes. Because as I've heard before from just different podcasts and YouTube videos that I've watched, the tax code is actually mostly just a book of telling you how to not pay taxes legally. So if you can follow that, follow the IRS's guideline for you, then you're going to be in a better situation. And your personal tax freedom day is going to come much, much sooner. And this is the secret of how wealthy people, like, for example, all these accusations about Donald Trump not paying taxes. Well, a lot of times, and I can't speak for him personally, but a lot of times these wealthy people are doing this in legal ways. They're just being smart about how they use their money. We talked a little bit the last episode about how taxes differ from our personal taxes versus business taxes. And on just a quick recap, when we pay our normal taxes, we work and we get a paycheck. But before that paycheck comes, the government takes out their portion of our money. And so we get taxed on everything that we earn, and then we get whatever's left over. Now, businesses work a little bit differently because for a business, we get this income and then we spend it on our expenses. And then after we spend it on our expenses, whatever's left over, the government taxes that. So the difference being, we personally spend our money on our expenses after taxes are taken out. Businesses spend their money on expenses before taxes are taken out. So that is a huge tax benefit of businesses, and it can dramatically decrease the amount of money that you pay in taxes, which means your tax freedom day gets earlier and earlier. Also, another way that I've used in order to decrease my tax burden is to take the machines that I've bought, and the government allows you to depreciate those over a certain period of time. And you basically what that means is the government is saying, hey, I realize that you bought these machines, you bought them new, used, whatever, you paid this much money for them. Next year, they're going to be a little more used, and so they're going to be worth a little bit less. And if they're worth a little bit less, then maybe you can just take that off of however much less it is, take that off of your income. So let's say you brought in $50,000 for the year that's going to be taxed. Well, the government says, okay, the value of your assets, which are your laundromat machines, are going to depreciate. So over a certain period of time, so they let you divide the value of your assets divided by that period of time. So let's just say that gives you a number of $5,000. Well, all of a sudden your tax burden goes from $50,000. You get to depreciate that $5,000. So now your tax burden is not $50,000, it's $45,000. So when you write that in on your tax forms, you're claiming that you brought in $45,000, even though you really brought in $50,000, but they've allowed you to depreciate that $5,000. So that's $5,000 that you just got tax-free, long story short. So that's huge. And if you can start piling on these tax advantages, your tax burden gets less and less and less because you're doing what the government wants you to do. And that's what the tax code is. The tax code is the government's roadmap of what they want you to do to help move our economy forward. So if you're using your expenses before you pay your taxes for a business, the government wants you to do that. And if you're depreciating your machines, the government wants you to do that. So follow what the government says and decrease your tax burden and let your tax freedom day get earlier and earlier and earlier